Till then must life carry seed of death, and sorrow's plaint be heard in the slow night.
Ah, very beautiful lines. So life, of course, has to carry its seed of death, as we know already that we begin to die the moment we're born. It's a given right now. But Sri Aurobindo tells us it doesn't have to be. So we hear that sorrow's plaint, a plaint is a lamentation. It's an utterance of grief or sorrow, a plaint. And sorrow's plaint be heard in the slow night. Got it?
O mortal, bear this great world's law of pain in thy hard passage through a suffering world. Lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. Turn towards high truth. Aspire to love and peace.
Well, Sri Aurobindo has packed so much into this. First of all, he tells us that we have to bear this world's law of pain. And it's not just physical pain, it's pain of sorrow, loss, depletion of energy, all the pains of this world where at our level, pain is a law. So he says, bear this great world's law of pain. And then he says, in thy hard passage, not an easy passage for us, unless we can, the very few of us can travel on the sunlit path, but very few are there. Because any problem they see, any pain that they have, is immediately offered to the mother. Everything is offered. Every thought, every wrong deed, every wrong idea, every descent into the lower consciousness of sex or of injury, torture, wounding. So it's a hard passage through a suffering world. But he tells us what to do. He says, lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. Now we would know to lean on Mother. Turn towards high truth, and then these last words, aspire to love and peace. It almost says everything to me, those last words, aspire to love and peace. So powerful. So, high truth. Sri Aurobindo has spoken about truth in the human cycle. He says it's the secret of life and power. And I think I told you about Tara's father. No, he went to Mother and he said, Mother, tell me what is truth, truly. Mother says, where there is harmony, there is truth. And then at another point she says, the truth is not linear, but global. It is not successive, but simultaneous. Therefore, it cannot be expressed in words. It has to be lived. How beautiful. So let's carry on. A little bliss.
A little bliss is left from above, a touch divine upon thy human day.
So even in the darkness of our life, even in the darknesses that we have to go through, he tells us a little bliss is lent thee from above. And in another part in book 1, he says to us, even when we fail to look within our souls or lie embedded in earthly consciousness, still have we parts that grow towards the light. See, these kind of things you can use in your book.
In the dream, there's a person, was an underwater person, and that's presumably me. That felt like it was me. I
Right.
come up to the surface because I'm upset about something, and
Yeah.
then she speaks to me when I'm on the surface, and then I look at the sky and I say to her, it's so dark, and there's these stars which are these little points of light. And she tells me that she said there is no darkness, there is light everywhere. And so that she says to me, and bits and pieces come back to me, but I can't remember it fully.
But all that you've just said, you should write down immediately.
Okay,
All the
I will.
things you just told me, so important.
Yes,
You also come up to the surface
yes,
to get the light.
yes.
See how we can begin to weave this story together. And there are people in Oroville who are artists who can really illustrate children's books.
Okay, okay,
So when you're ready, we'll make those contacts.
okay. All
Good.
right.
So a little bliss is lent thee from above, a touch divine upon thy human days. How powerful those two lines are. The little bliss is lent thee. Yeah, it's on loan right now because we can't have it fully yet. So the divine is loaning us a little bliss from above. And he's also giving us a touch divine upon our human days. Now, this next is one of the most important lines in Savitri.
Make of thy daily way a pilgrimage, for through small joys and grief thou move towards God.
A pilgrimage, of course, we know what a pilgrimage is in India because people are going on pilgrimages, I think, every day. So we have to make a pilgrimage of our daily way, of all our daily way. We get up in the morning and we begin our pilgrimage. Because through small joys and griefs, we are moving towards God.
Haste not towards Godhead on a dangerous road. Open not thy doorways to a nameless power. Climb not to Godhead by the Titan's road.
So we have to talk a lot about that.
Yes.
Um, okay. He speaks of the Godhead here. And Atma Rupamyena Savatra, Abhut Sarvani Bhutani. All of these things he's quoting from the essays on the Gita. And he says, the Godhead is one in all things that are. The self who lives in all, and the self in who live and move. Therefore, man has to discover his spiritual unity with all creatures. Here's your book again. With all creatures. Let me expand this a little bit. To see all in the self, and the self in all beings. Again. Even to see all things and creatures as himself, and accordingly think, feel, and act in all his mind, will, and living. The Godhead is the origin of all that is here or elsewhere, and by his nature he has become all these innumerable existences. Abhut Savani Bhutani. Therefore, man has to see and adore the one in all things animate and inanimate, to worship the manifestation in sun and star and flower, in man and every living creature, in the forms and forces, qualities and powers of nature. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. It's incredible. It's not pantheistic at all
No.
because it's so much higher than pantheism. And it's so important for us. So he's going to give us a warning here that we should not take this dangerous road to Godhead or even open ourselves to a nameless power. And then he finishes that by saying, climb not to Godhead by the Titan's road. And we notice that Titan is capitalized here. I think you and I have talked about Titan before. We've read so much from Sri Aurobindo about the Titan. So we won't go into that. But the Titan is, in a way, the Asura, Anasura. So he's going to continue with that warning now against the law. Against
The law keepeth his single will. Soft he throws his pride of might.
against the law, he pits his single will. This is the Titan doing this. He's going against the law because he wants that power, but he has to step on people, humanity, to get it. And so across its way, he throws his pride of might, of power. And then continue on, please.
Heavenward he clambers on a stair of storms, aspiring to live near the deathless sun.
Now, in Stephen Phillips' beautiful book of poetry called Marpessa, I quote to you something that is so beautiful, and you can use it in your book. Marpessa has refused Apollo, the god of light, and she has chosen this simple boy, and she says, and he shall give me passionate children, not some radiant god that will despise me quite, but clambering limbs and little hearts that err. So she's chosen Idas over Apollo because she said when she gets old, Apollo will be very kind to her, which is the most painful thing for a woman because he's forgotten her beauty and sees her as an old person. Okay, so now I'm going to go to 452 and you can read a little more. We have enough time.
He strives with a giant strength to wrest by force from life and nature the immortal's right. He takes by storm the world and fate and heaven.
So all of this is about the title and what he
Yes.
does, what his motive is. It's a motive to wrest by force from life and nature the right of the immortals. He wants to be an immortal. And therefore, we have the line, he takes by storm the world and fate and heaven. And we see how carefully we have to read these words or recite these words. because Sri Aurobindo doesn't even put an and without consciousness. So he takes, look at 3 lines. He takes, he comes, he waits.
Hmm.
Emphasizing again more and more about the Titan and how we shouldn't take that step. And many people have taken that step. And many yogis who have gained a little bit of power, some siddhi, have often turned to the darkness. Because the asura can give you a lot of things. It's in the Christianity we'd say selling one's soul to the devil.
I once had a dream with Shradhalu that was in it, and I was telling him I'm very scared of I'm scared of the power of the psychic wave. I'm scared what how it I'm just scared of that kind of power. I was telling him in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Do you know what he said?
No, not in the dream, but when I was talking to him about it, he said that what it does is that it completely changes your life, everything that you've known and you thought that's what he says. And I don't know it by experience, but he says perhaps that's what you were talking about. But I think what I was talking about was the strength, the power that it gives.
Uh, well, we'll have to wait for next time and we'll talk about that because um, Savitri meets these Madonnas and each one has something but is lacking something. So if one has power, it doesn't have love. So we'll go into all of that. Our time is late, so could you begin from the beginning and read it completely for us? Closest to the microphone as possible.
Till then must life carry its seed of death, and sorrow's plaint be heard in the slow night. O mortal, bear this great world's law of pain. In thy hard passage through a suffering world, lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. Turn towards high truth, aspire to love and peace. A little bliss is lent thee from above, a touch divine upon thy human days. Make of thy daily way a pilgrimage, for through small joys and griefs thou movest towards God. Haste not towards Godhead on a dangerous road. Open not thy doorways to a nameless power. Climb not to Godhead by the Titan's road. Against the law he pits his single will. Across its way he throws his pride of might. Heavenward he clambers on a stair of storms, aspiring to live near the deathless sun. He strives with a giant strength to wrest by force from life and nature the immortal's right. He takes by storm the world and fate and heaven.
Okay, so we've completed that and see you next week.
See you next week.
Maybe write something and you can send it to me on email.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Namaste.